This is the TSG Multimedia podcast for March 2019. We're sponsored in part this month by Podomatic and the TSG Train Crew on Patreon. Thanks so much. I'm your host, John, and I'm back again with some updates about what happened since the last podcast show and some news about what to expect on the channel in the coming weeks. On the 11th, I met Kevin and Curtis Hill at the Blossom Hill Caltrain station to catch some locomotives in tow on regular freight trains that run north out of Watsonville Junction at night. It's a little unusual for me to do this, but I made a very short special episode of chasing trains out of that event because the power in tow moves were too cool not to share. So this was published as an exclusive content for TSG train crew members on Patreon, the same night I shot the video. I'll talk a little more about how Patreon supporters get cool sneak peeks and exclusive stuff a little bit later in the show. On the 16th, I went to work on future episodes of Model Railroading with Jack Burgess, and this was a highlight for me because we also got to have lunch with Jim Diaz. You might remember Jim. He has that fantastic Western Pacific layout that was featured on the channel last year. Jim also has the distinction of being the first ever member of the TSG train crew, which means a lot to me. The video I worked on with Jack is a two-part series about the structures on his layout of the YV. While we were recording, I got my GoPro down on the layout and we took some still photos of the buildings from the backside of the layout facing the aisles. Jack said he hasn't seen shots from the other side of the track before. And I'm looking forward to going back over and lighting the layout for these kinds of shots. His structures are complete on all four sides, so it really is a different experience seeing the layout from the track side instead of from the aisle side. So the next day, I went to Seth Newman's place to work on the next episode of Model Railroading 101, which is an introduction to operations. This program will explain a lot of the concepts surrounding the topic of operations, and Seth is very knowledgeable about it, having been involved with the Operations Special Interest Group for a long time. That's OPSIG. I'll talk a little bit more about this Model Railroading 101 program later in the show. On February 18th, the channel went over 25,000 subscribers. This is one of those sort of milestone events, so I wanted to mention it on the program today and thank you all for your support. This is what happens when the content being produced gets more eclectic, more dynamic, and easier to watch. And I want you to know that I'm working hard to continue producing the most popular kinds of videos, and I'll certainly try new things from time to time to see if you enjoy them. If you have an idea for a show, please let me know by placing a comment in the comments section below this video. I want this to be one of the first places people come to for the highest quality content about trains and model railroading and that kind of thing on YouTube. And with your help, that's where we're headed. Anyway, the next Saturday on the 23rd, a bunch of us got together to go to the Great Train Show, which was in town for the weekend. And we had a fun time at the show. I got to see a lot of people I've come to know over the past few years. And I took one of my cameras this time just in case, because the last time I went with these guys, we ended up chasing trains in Niles Canyon and all I had was my iPhone. We didn't chase trains this time, but I did make a video about what we did that day. So let's take a look at it. So you may be asking yourself, what kind of video? What kind of video is this?
It's okay, I'm in it, so it's going to be a raunchy video. You know,
they usually are.
Yeah.
The real answer to the question is, I don't know what the video is.
Yeah.
All I know is the last time I went with these guys someplace, we ended up chasing trains. Don't tell me to keep calm.
Yeah,
boy.
And now our nicknames are Itchy and Scratchy.
Yeah, Itchy and Scratchy. All right, so what's really happening is we're going to the train show. And the last time we did this, Kevin and I went to Richmond with CJ, and that was a bit of an adventure too, huh?
Yeah, CJ's not with us today. He's out in Potato Land.
We have a different CJ with us, Curtis J.
Yeah, he's up here driving the car.
Yep.
And
scratchy and itchy.
yeah. And we're gonna see what happens. Usually when I go to train shows with John, you can't get anything done because everybody knows him, and they stop to shake hands and talk or do whatever they're gonna do. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, all the chicks come up.
No.
Unfortunately, that's not how it goes. So we'll see what happens. And I brought the real camera this time because last time I didn't bring the real camera and we ended up chasing trains, and I had to put something out that was done entirely on the iPhone, which isn't all bad, but I just was not prepared that day. I even ran out of space on the phone. So I won't run out of space on this camera. We're about maybe, what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes into this, and look what these guys already found. That's a 2479. That's an old Pacific class, former Southern Pacific engine that's being restored here. It's everything you dreamed of, huh?
Oh yeah.
You foaming yet?
Oh,
Yeah.
Are you foaming yet, Nice Hands?
always.
I mean, to be honest, I think I like that thing better.
Yeah, that's
But
cool.
that looks
50 ton?
It looks like an old Kennecott engine. This is the third of 3 Pacific class locomotives in the area. The other 2 are one's at Niles, that's a 2472. Probably heard of that one. The other one's the 2476, and it's been living at the California State Railroad Museum for a long time. I'm pretty sure that one's owned by the Pacific Locomotive Association. But they've been restoring the 2479 here for a while now. And this is on the fairgrounds, the Santa Clara County Fairgrounds, very close to the train show we're going to. And I've never been this close to it. This is pretty cool. It's not something I mean, you kind of would figure they'd be working on it on a Saturday like this. But the difference between this one and the other 2 is this is what's called a P10, and the other 2 I just mentioned are P8s. And there are some technical differences. The P10s are a little bit newer and have some slight modifications. These guys are getting a little tour in there. But as you can see, the cab's not on it.
It was, I mean, there was none of these handrails on it. Nothing was refinished on the inside. It was, I mean, it was pretty grim looking. Now it looks pretty nice. It's starting to take shape. They reworked that roof up inside there.
I think that's what the person showing them stuff was pointing out in here. Stuff in the ceiling.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. What'd you learn, Kevin?
well, we learned today that this is not the original cab for the 2479.
Oh.
Yeah, when the engine was wrecked, the cab didn't make it out.
Oh, well, that's a bummer.
Yep.
And so this, as near as anybody can tell, this is a cab from an old Atlantic that was modified to fit an SE4. During the 1930s, they were remodeling Atlantics into 080s.
Oh.
They were building, they built, I don't know, 4 or 5 of the SE4s, and the last one, 1314, was outshopped after this locomotive was fixed and put back on the road. And so it's a reasonable assumption, since the outline of the cuts in the cab are the same as you'd find in an SE4. It's not an unreasonable assumption that what this is a cab that was modified for an SE4 and eventually stuck on the Pacific.
I think it looks good.
Yeah?
It looks good, yeah. It's a long ways to go, though.
Oh, yeah. Nick, you said you never saw it before?
No, it's the first time actually seeing it up close. I've been sent pictures. That's about it.
What's your impression seeing it up close like this?
It'll be nice to see it run again. They've got a lot of work ahead of them, and it looks great from what they've done to it so far.
Did you ever go up and see 2472 run?
Oh yeah. I've seen 67 run, 72 run. It'll be nice to see the 79 run.
Yeah. I think you guys start working around.
So we got hot dogs, and they're like $10 a piece. with a little bag of chips.
You're really paying for the chips.
Yeah.
At that point.
I better get a happy ending with that hot dog for that price.
This is how you can tell if people are prepared for the train show or not. You got a shopping bag.
We're going
Right.
tactical.
Tactical series. Wow, you could carry ammunition in that thing.
That's right.
Actually, this should be Kevin's bag.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Mickey Mouse. Look, here's Kevin's favorite train.
Yeah.
We saw this one in Richmond too. He really liked it.
Oh yeah.
Very impressive.
It's very impressive. Yeah.
Kevin's a train guy.
Yeah.
A real train guy.
I don't know. That depends on who you ask.
This is one of those times when I come on the video and say you never know who you're going to run into. This gas station is N-Scale, and it was made by Alvin Ho, which you'll remember Alvin from one of our N-Scale Friday shows. Come over here, Alvin, and tell the camera. You can point stuff out and tell them what you did with this gas station. It's really cool. Custom lighting and stuff.
Yeah, so this is actually a wood kit. I added all of the lighting. It's all custom. There are 12, I think these are 1206s up on the sign. It's a freestanding sign. There's some uplighting that's also done with 1206s. The gas station pump lights, those are also custom. Those don't come in the kit or anything. So I found a lampshade and some hollow brass tubing and made some lights for those.
Yeah, it's really cool. I was saying off camera here a minute ago that I don't know how you work on stuff this small. It's got to require a lot of patience and a lot of very good tools, probably. Tweezers and whatever, huh?
Yeah, just practice. I think practice is really helpful for soldering LEDs and having some magnification as well.
You want to talk about the group that you're part of here?
Yeah, so here we're set up at the train show with Silicon Valley Fremo. So basically it's a bunch of individuals that we meet together 3 to 4 times a year with our own modules, and we set up a big layout and run trains for 2 days. And it's really fun because at home there's no way you'd be able to set up this big of a layout.
Right.
And you get to hang out with your friends and run trains.
That's one of the cool things about modular groups for people who don't have space. If you have space to build a module and you become part of a group like this, now look at your layout. It's actually rather large.
Oh yeah.
So.
One of the big key things about Silicon Valley Fremo is with any Fremo setup, because all of the modules are very free form, it's not like we set up the same layout every time. So the whole track plan changes every single time when we set up. And as you can see around here, it's like a very, I guess, free-flowing type.
It's an eclectic
layout.
collection, isn't it?
Yeah, it's easy to fit in a weird space as well. So
one of the really cool things about shows like this is that I get to catch up with a lot of people that I know. So it's always good to show up to these things just to keep in touch with people. So this guy even foams on the model railroad layouts.
I heard mariachis and I thought of beer, so.
Corona.
Yeah.
Or what is the one that
Modelo.
Modelo, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Modelo. This is Mr. Modelo right there.
Modelo sounds good right now.
Yeah. General Lee. The DeLorean.
The DeLorean.
Starsky and
Yep.
Hutch.
Batmobiles.
The DeLorean's supposed to be out in front of the train.
And Mater bringing up the rear. Yep, make one of those.
Did you get what you wanted, Kevin?
Picked up a couple of things, nothing too crazy. There have been better shows, but it's okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you get what you wanted, Nick?
I got a locomotive for a new project that will eventually show up on TSG.
Yeah, I think it will.
Oh boy. Oh, now I'm excited. Did you get everything you wanted, Curtis?
Not what we were actually looking for, but we found a vehicle for the Garden Railroad, which is for the time frame that our railroad's set for. So it was good.
Cool.
All win.
All right.
And we got to go to Original Joe's.
That's what you really wanted, huh?
Exactly.
And I got to try Original Joe's for the first time. All right, well, until next time. So you can see we had some fun that day. On Sunday, the next day, I traveled out to Rocklin with my top secret production assistant to talk to Dave Houston. I contacted Dave because he recently published a book about the Southern Pacific, and I wanted to share it with you here. So we sat down and talked about the book and some of Dave's experiences in the hobby, and that's the next thing I want to show you. Let's take a look at the interview. All right, so I'm here with Daylight Dave Houston. You might know Dave the same way that I know of Dave. Every time I saw him, he was at the train shows running a booth that had all kinds of neat memorabilia and clothing and hats and all kinds of cool stuff. So the reason we're here today, though, is Dave recently completed a book, which is Southern Pacific, which I know a lot of people who watch the channel will hold near and dear. So we're going to talk a little bit about the book, and maybe you could talk a little bit about Daylight Sales so people know how that went.
Daylight Sales was something that was an offshoot of my love of trains, which started when I was a child. I've been interested in trains. I traveled with a camera wherever I went, and somehow got in the clothing business 22 years ago. And through that media, I wound up meeting many, many people, and a lot of you are wearing clothes that I designed, which is nothing short of stupendous because I can't draw a stick, but I could design, and it worked well. But as I got older, it became time to look at retirement, and 2 years ago I sold the company, and great ride. All of a sudden I have time on my hands to play and relax. So one of the things I wanted to do was to preserve my picture collection, which I had taken since the 60s, sometimes with terrible equipment and no knowledge of lighting or focus or composition. Just I grabbed shots and took them. But I wanted to preserve them, so I set about to digitize 2 years ago. And as I got through these things, I started thinking, you know, there's some neat stuff here. There's some pictures here that I really enjoyed taking, and I really enjoyed looking at them. Pictures of the transition era from the 60s into the 90s, when the SP was really something to see. I really enjoyed that. And I started thinking, what do I do with these pictures? Okay, I've got 6,500 pictures that I've scanned. Well, some of them need a lot of help, so got to learn new tricks. Photoshop. Get rid of all the dust and scratches, adjust the lighting. And wow, these things are pretty good. There's a lot of laments. There's a lot of pictures that are on the cutting room floor. We don't need to worry about that. Everybody who's ever taken a picture goofed up more than one, and I'm no exception.
No, I mean, looking through the book, though, every picture, we were talking earlier, sort of off camera about this, every picture in it that I saw was in focus, composed well, so either you're a miracle worker with Photoshop or you're a decent photographer at least.
Well, how about fussy?
That works.
The same attention to detail that I did when I designed all the clothing that you folks are wearing, it transferred into the book. Mm-hmm. If it was out of focus, if I cut the front of the thing off, it's in it's on the floor.
Something I'd like to mention is the title of the book. I kind of forgot to mention that. It's Southern Pacific, right? Southern Pacific, 1960s to the 1990s. But I mentioned this because I want to mention the second part of the title, which is Volume 1, Sacramento to Sparks. So now you know what it's about, but you also know, by calling it Volume 1, that there must be something else in the works, right?
Volume 2.
Right?
And 3 and 4 and 5. And this project, many of the things I've done in my life were by accident. I never planned to make a company that did millions of dollars in sales on t-shirts. I never planned to be an author. I fell into it, and it just happened. And I've never had more fun. So yeah, Volume 2 is going to be out in the fall.
Oh, okay.
It's already putting things together. It's time to do the selection process, but tremendous amount of research. But here's what really got me. When I got done looking at these pictures and getting the ones that were sharp, that the lighting was right, I wanted to know what else happened here. What's the story with that engine? What's the story with that location? And I started doing the research. And I realized that rather than just be a rail fan, I wound up documenting moments in history. And it was so neat to see a shot of a F unit that I really liked to see in the Black Widow colors, or an Alco, or all these things that I really enjoyed, and realized that a month later they were scrapped. So I realized I had a story here that I wanted to share of what happened to these things.
Mm-hmm.
I caught them and I preserved it. Now comes the question, what do you do with it? So to that end, I started talking to a number of publishers. And I had worked with Joe Shine from Four Ways West in the past. I knew of his quality. The books are beautiful, hardbound, printed in America. And matter of fact, down in Visalia. Very nice man, easy to work with. I've worked with him at train shows in the past. Joe's my partner in this, and where he had a shot that I didn't have, he let me use his. And you'll see there's a few here that say the Joe Shine collection. But it became a partnership. And a better person to work with on this you couldn't ask for.
Sounds really great. What were your methods for doing the research?
First off, I started using the internet. I put questions out on the SP group or the SP modelers group on Facebook. And if I didn't know a location, I would ask, and people were more than generous in telling me where it was. A good number of my friends are authors already, and I asked them, where was this? Retired engineers. There's Dave Stanley, there's Dick Dorn, John Signor, wonderful friend, and designed the map that's on the cover of the book for me. Just wonderful people, a camaraderie of people wanting to do the same thing.
One of the things I've noticed with railroaders, model railroaders, and just people who share interests like that is that people are very willing to share their knowledge with you. Yeah. And as you described, I mean, that's one of the great things about sort of branching out and not being afraid to ask someone for help if you need it or something like that. So it sounds like you networked and got a lot of info. That's really great.
Very appreciative. There's one other gentleman who wrote books on the SP. They're compendiums, Joe Strapak.
Okay.
And he has taken the time to write the most boring text for anybody that's not into this that you could ever imagine. But it's exactly what I needed to tell you what happened to that engine, when it was built, where it went, where it died, all that. And then there's other companies out there on the internet, realpictures.net. You can look at that and see where they went after they were sold or retired. Some of these locomotives were built in the 60s are still in service. Mm-hmm. So that kind of research became so entertaining. I just fell in love with the whole project, and it was motivating. The greatest therapy you ever could ask for.
That's really great.
Wake up in the morning, I'm on the computer. Give me a cup of coffee, I'm having a ball. It was fun.
Plus you get to stay out of your wife's hair.
Well, she's not complaining yet. Yeah, are you going to be on the computer anymore? I need to pay bills. Well, all right, have at it.
Right, but then you're there waiting for her to finish, probably with bated breath.
I help her. It's a great partnership. We're married 48 years, and she's out there working, watching me take pictures. She's in a few pictures in the book. She worked with me at the show. She worked with me in the business, and better partner you couldn't ask for.
That answers a question that I had when I was thumbing through the book earlier when we were talking, because I saw a lady in the picture, or the back of a lady's head, and I thought, I wonder if that's...
We were only married a month when I drug her out to the train tracks, took her picture as she waved at a train going by. And
I think it might have been the same picture.
It is. And see, too, in book 2, I have a picture of her making the Flying Scotsman disappear. So you'll have to look for that picture, because when she's in front of it, you don't see the train.
Okay. I guess that's a good reason for everybody to buy the book. Speaking of buying the book, how about, how much is it? Where is it? How do people find it? What's the story with that?
All right. So a little marketing ploy. The book is $59.95. It's hardbound, 144 pages, and 400 pictures. Almost all of them are color. Nearly all of them are my own, and basically none of them have ever been published. I'm a debuting author with my own work, so this is a novel thing to see. If you'd like an autographed copy, you'll have to order through me, and the website will be shown so you can copy it down. If you're going to call me, please be aware of the time zone difference, and don't call me at 7 in the morning East Coast time. I won't answer.
That's 4 a.m. for us, in case you're wondering. This is Pacific time where we are.
Right.
So,
And credit cards, any way we can do it. If you don't want to bother with an author's signature, which might devalue the book, be warned. Most of the hobby shops will have it. It's available through Walters, and it's more important that you enjoy. This is writing a book. If you ever think about it, it's not a get-rich proposition. It's more a labor of love. It's for the preservation of the things that I hold near and dear to me, railroading the way it was. How you get it is of no consequence. You get it any way you want, and enjoy the read. And if you have a comment, I'd love to hear. If you like it, wonderful. Book 2 will be coming.
one of the big events coming up soon for us is Winter Rail up in Corvallis. Are you planning to be there, or what's the story with the...
Well, you're absolutely right, John. It's a premier event for railroad collectible people, photographers, and the book will be debuted there. I will have a table, and I'll be more than happy to sign an autograph for you there. Come quick, we're going to run out.
Right?
I hope.
You'll probably run out. I know a lot of SP people, that's their thing.
Yeah.
So
It's a great show. It's in Corvallis, Oregon, a month from now, and a lot of books have been debuted there, and I'm flabbergasted that I'm back behind a table after all the years of not, and happy to have this book there. It's going to be a fun trip. Look forward to meeting you.
I did get a chance to thumb through the book briefly. It only came out less than a week ago, so it was practically impossible for me to find one, but it looks really nice. It's very nicely done.
Yeah. Some of the pictures in here, Joe's a master. There's a number of publishers out there, but this man has done it for years. Easy to work with. He knows his stuff. And together we did it. And I'd love to share it with you if you're interested in the great, friendly Southern Pacific that was.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk. And there's an upcoming layout tour sometime in the near future as well. That's what we were doing here today, as well as talking about the book.
Yeah.
And it's great to have you on the show, and really glad to see that there's another Southern Pacific book that appears to be very well done. So thank you very much.
Thank you for coming out.
Very good.
Thank you.
So Dave and his wife, Rosemary, were very welcoming, and we had a great time visiting with them. It's just another example of super nice people in the model railroading community. If you're watching this show, Dave, thank you very much. It was really great to hang out with you and visit with you, and I really do hope that we get to see you again sometime very soon. So anyway, we visited with Mike Roquet from the Placerville and Sacramento Valley Railroad after we were done talking to Dave and before heading home. You may recall I talked about meeting Mike last year when we went out to Folsom to see the Placerville and Sacramento Valley Railroad. It sounds like that organization has a lot of cool stuff to look forward to this year, and I can't wait to learn more about what they're planning. So we'll be going out for a visit there in April for a program that I'm working on for the channel here, and that's something I'm looking forward to quite a bit. We went last year and had a really nice time riding the train and checking out that line. Earlier this week, I went to the Santa Clara Depot to talk with Robin Gilstrom about the South Bay Historical Railroad Society's Spring Open House event. That's coming up next month, and also I wanted to see some of the progress on the N-scale logging branch that they've been working on. So let's take a look. All right, so we're here at the SBHRS now, and I'm with my friend Robin, who's been a member here for a very long time. And we're going to talk a little bit about the open house because that's coming up next month. And I wanted to talk about that before it happens because the next podcast will be on the weekend of that open house. That way you have some time to plan for it. It's April 6th and April 7th. That's a Saturday and Sunday. And on the Saturday, the normal hours are 10 to 5. And on the Sunday, the normal hours are 10 to 4. And you're welcome to come down. If you're interested in seeing what kind of things you can see on an open house, you can look at the playlist that I'm going to put up on the top of the screen now, on the top right part. And I was here last November and did a short series of videos kind of highlighting what the SBHRS has to offer. So,
Let me just add in on that. For the open house, we through the year we get donations, and that's one of our fundraisers is to sell off the donations. And there's a lot of stuff, N scale, HO, O scale, that have come in that we're going to be selling off at very reasonable prices. And obviously, we also have a little kitchen area where we sell hot dogs and things like that, so you don't go hungry.
yeah, the chili dogs alone are worth it to come down for if you like that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's a very much worthwhile thing to come down and see and do.
Yeah, I always tell people that this is one of the best railroad-related events in the entire Bay Area because of what's here. I mean, this is not just a place with layouts, right? You have the museum room that has all kinds of great historic memorabilia and relics and displays, and that's really cool. There's the business car that you're usually working on, right?
Yeah,
So,
we have a business car that was originally built for the Oregon-Washington Railroad and Navigation Company, and it was donated to us, I don't know, 10 years ago now, but we're in the process of restoring. Not much progress has happened in the last 6 months, mostly because of the weather and commitments by others to do it. We're always looking for volunteers to help us with that. The progress we have made lately is more of the wood paneling's been put up and stained. It still needs to get varnished, but there's always work to be done on it. So if you're into construction or paint, you like painting or staining or things like that, come down and volunteer, help with that. There are all sorts of other opportunities for volunteers here at the depot, things you can do. So we're always looking for new members and help.
well, one of the things that's being done is we're standing in front of, on purpose, I've been kind of talking about this logging extension to the N-scale layout for some time now. Atlas was kind enough to donate all of the flex track.
Came from Atlas, and that was very much appreciated. It's really helped us.
Why don't we take a look at the progress on the logging branch?
Okay, I will be glad to walk you through and explain what's been done and what I intend to do. And I do need volunteers to help, particularly with the scenery, like building the mountains and stuff like that. So if you're good at that, please come down. You know, put down ground cover or whatever. We need the help.
All right, I'll grab the camera and we'll go around and take a look at this stuff then.
6 months ago, maybe 9 months ago, we said, what can we do to expand the layout and add more scenery and stuff? So the thought came to build a logging scene. There's going to be a logging camp. And what you're seeing here is the mountain starting to take shape. It's made with this expanded foam and carved. Eventually, it will be covered with hydrocal as a base coat and then rock molds to make it look more like rock. But what you're seeing right here is this scratch build. I built this trestle from individual pieces, and there'll be a waterfall coming down the back and a little bit of river flowing here. And from here up, there's more mountain that'll get built, but you only do one thing at a time. You work your way up. But you know, it's coming along. We got a little scenery here. One thing you can sort of see back here, we've got what's going to be a set of switchbacks. Train will come up to here, turn around and go up and back here. Up here will be a logging camp with a couple of sightings and things. So it's designed to use the microtrain logging cars, but you can make any sort of logging car you want, and shays to pull the trains up and down. Everything will be DCC and stuff, but I've got, you can see this one little building's been partially built, it's not finished, but we have a whole logging camp where those buildings to be built, and that's just a lot of work. This is an engine facility for servicing the shays and stuff that will be, and parking spare cars and things like that. These two tracks right here, this track is the main line which comes from the layout and runs around the backside, around that loop, across that trestle, and continues on down, and we'll show you where it goes to and where it's going to come from in a little bit. But passing siding where finished products or whatever can be loaded up while the trains are going by. More mountain over here, end of one of the switchbacks going up, and this this is a mountain you see that's got scenery on it, something that was donated, and we may or may not incorporate it, but it gives an idea what it's going to look like. But what we have here is an N-scale architect sawmill building. This is what the scene's going to be. You have the sorting of the lumber out over here. Finished goods are shipped out on tracks in the backside there. And this line coming down is where, coming down from the logging camp and the switchbacks, they would drop their logs into the pond right here. And then as you come around, you get into more. Obviously, for a big factory, you've got to have some place for the people to stay. So we've got a little town. Now, these buildings are all really old Western style buildings, but I think it just adds a little character to the place and the configuration. So it'd be a little town and a loading dock and things like that. And then the tracks, this track and the track in the back, go down this line, down the wall, which I'll show you in just a minute. We're going to talk a little bit about where this track is going. As you can see in the past, where the sawmill and the town were, well, the two main tracks you see right here run about 40 feet down this back wall, and with a couple of crossovers so that trains can pass each other and go around. And we're in the process of wiring it. There will be a protective guard here to keep trains from falling off and people who are walking by from bumping into it. But we've got a lot of work to go. We're doing a lot. We're in the process right now of wiring up the track, dropping the feeders and connecting things in. Also figuring out where our automatic reversing loops are going to go. And then once this is all wired, we've tested the track, then we will figure out at the far end behind the camera what we're doing to connect it into the existing main lines.
The Patreon TSG train crew continues to grow. We brought several new crew members on board this past month. You're invited to go take a look at the page at patreon.com/TSG Multimedia, and I'd love to welcome you aboard as well. I mentioned last month that one of my long-term goals is to get rid of the ads on the videos here on YouTube so that you don't have to be bothered with skipping them or having your viewing interrupted. The key to making this happen is finding enough people who watch the programs on this channel who are willing to pitch in a small amount each month. Then eventually it'll add up to enough that I can fund the activities that create the content for the channel and dump YouTube's ads altogether. If you like the programs here on the channel, please consider joining. It's a great way to do your part to ensure that the high quality content I create here continues to be made. You can support my efforts for as little as $2 a month. And, it's not really much, but like I've said before, if enough people do it, that will enable me to create more of the content that you like to watch. So just consider it. I'd appreciate it a lot. If you love the content, but you can't part with $2 a month, tell your friends about the channel. Every new subscriber helps make the channel more visible on YouTube. So we can't have enough viewers. That's always a priority. All right, then let's talk about what's on tap for this month. Winter Rail is happening in Corvallis, Oregon on the weekend of March 16th. I've never been to Winter Rail, but I'm determined to attend that show one of these days. It won't happen this year, but the Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad is running some special excursions that weekend with the Skookum. That's a 2442 steamer that's actually scheduled to make an appearance here in Niles Canyon later this year. I'd hoped to get up there, but other stuff going on is going to prevent that this time. We talked about the SBHRS open house a few minutes ago, and I want to mention it again here because by the time I see you on the next podcast, the open house will be going on that same weekend of April 6th and 7th. The open house is a great time to go see the important historical preservation projects that the organization works on, visit the interlocking tower, see the business car, buy some railroad-related items from the company store. Robin talked about that. And, of course, see the train layouts, right? Last November, I produced 4 short segments during the fall open house, and you can see them by clicking the link on the top right corner of the screen to get an idea about why the open house is such a great event. It's like I said on the video earlier, I consider it one of the best railroading events in the area. I have some tentative plans to go out and have a blast, literally, with some friends who have train horns, and there's a chance we might take a trip out to see the super bloom around Mojave this month. Going to Mojave means going past Tehachapi, and I think you can figure out what else that might mean for the channel. There's a lot of great railroading on the Mojave sub between Bakersfield and Mojave, and I wouldn't miss it if I'm out there. So, as always, I encourage you to seek out the events in your area. Heritage railroading community as well as the model railroading community benefit from your support when they put on special events like the SBHRS's open house that I talked about. So anyway, March has 5 Saturdays, so I'm scheduling 5 featured videos as well as some product spotlight style programs for you. So N-Scale Friday and product spotlights will be coming this month. Next Saturday, March 9th, it's the Southern Pacific Rocklin sub with Daylight Dave Houston. I didn't talk about his layout much earlier in the program, but let's just say you won't want to miss this layout tour. It's a really nice layout, and Dave's great at explaining stuff. So tune in for that. The following Saturday, on the 16th, we have Chasing Trains in Promontory, Utah, Part 1. This episode documents the drive out to Utah and the first day of action in and around Promontory and Weber Canyon.
Traffic jams and zippers.
Zippers and traffic jams. It's chasing trains. It's what we do.
You said my hair looks like a cat's ass?
Mr. Denny's. Love it.
I really have to go. Denny's, here I come.
Hey buddy, you need a ride?
You got my stuff, man.
Super dope donut place down in Salt Lake. Well, hello from Utah. I promise I'm not drunk.
Are you sure you're acting like you're drunk?
Right? This is what it's like chasing trains with us. You never know what's gonna happen. Chasing trains. Ooh. Trains appear. Switching and flipping.
We didn't really have to chase it. Chasing trains. All right, so on the 23rd, we have Model Railroading 101, Operations for Beginners. In this program, my friend Seth Newman gives us an overview of what operating is all about. Seth has been involved with Operations Special Interest Group, or OPSIG, for a long time, and even co-authored the official OPSIG book about operations. So I can't think of a more qualified person to present this information on the channel. Then on the 30th, that's the 5th Saturday, we take a look at the Layout Design SIG and Operations Meet from late January. The LD SIG is another special interest group like OPSIG. I mentioned to you last month that I was invited to attend this meeting when I talked to you on the last podcast, and this is the program that I produced about that event. There are a lot of reasons to attend these kind of events, and you'll get to hear all about them on that show. It's an interesting thing if you've never been to one of these. Okay then, so I think that's all I have for you this time. Please consider becoming a crew member of the TSG Train Crew on Patreon. That is the key to being able to bring more of the high quality content you enjoy to the channel. And like I said before, it's as cheap as 7 cents a day. And it's really not much, but if enough people do it, it'll add up and be enough to keep things going. You're the best viewers on YouTube, and I thank you all for your continued support. I'll see you next time.